Hi, everybody. Well, many people go on cruises to learn the culture and the countries you're going to. Many people like to take New England, Canadian cruises to learn about America and the history of Canada, United States. Well, coming up in 2026 is a very unique cruise that also has a cruise tour attached to it on the East Coast. You don't hear of cruise tours on the East Coast too often. So coming up on July 4th, 2026 is America's 250th anniversary. Hard to believe. I remember as a kid when I was watching TV during that year they had in 1776, during the year 1976, they had this day in history 200 years ago today. And they would be like little 1-minute segments that would pop up every Saturday when I was watching my cartoons in the morning. I still remember that to this day, and I learned a lot of history about the United States from those little stories that were going on. Well, if you want to learn more about history of America and everything involved, there's a cruise tour coming up with Princess Cruises in 2026. They're going to combine a 7-day bus tour along with a 7-day Canada East Coast cruise. The cruise tour portion, you'll be visiting a lot of historical sites like Washington, D.C. You will head off to Colonial Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. You'll see the great historic Gettysburg battlefield. You will see the Liberty Bell. You'll see Betsy Ross's place. You'll see all kinds of history and story and be on a guided tour with a dedicated tour guide for those specific events. Now, this sounds pretty amazing to me. It kicks off in New York City, and I think that this would be an amazing cruise to take with your children if you want them to learn about the history of our own country, right? We often study the history of Europe and the history of different countries and all this other stuff. And a lot of times we rarely delve into the history of our own country. I know that was big in Canada. I knew more about American history in school than I did about Canadian history in school. It's kind of weird, but that's just the way the education system was working. I don't understand, but they'd rather teach a different country's history than our own. And you never know what you can learn and find out and rekindle maybe a little bit of that good old American spirit when you think back to the days of independence and what they had to go through, what they were risking, including during the Civil War, where it was brother against brother in some cases. During the Revolution, when we were, defending ourselves against the British. And, Canada at that time was part of Britain. And we technically still are. And we actually went to war with each other during that time. And it's the only time that Washington, D.C. was actually attacked and bombarded, and that was the Canadian Army that did that. But of course, things have changed. We're now best friends, and our two countries are united, and we can learn so much about what brought that all together and how this new land that happened from Europe. Remember, we all basically, other than the people who were here originally, but the vast majority came over from other countries, are the people who are now here in United States and Canada. Well, they all left their countries and came to a new land, and how this land became one of the most powerful nations in the world, even larger than the original countries they came from. It's kind of a an amazing story, how it's grown up and how all the effort that had to go into creating this world. And you never know what you're going to learn on these tours. I think this is something that I might sign up for myself. 14 days, I'm not big on bus tours. But this isn't a bus tour where it's going to be 9 hours on a bus every day kind of thing. It's going to be bringing me to sites and historical places that I don't get to go to too often. And I've never been to Gettysburg, so that's one place I would love to go see. I've never seen the Liberty Bell, so that's another thing I would like to go see. I think this is a cruise tour that if you want to educate your children or yourself, absolutely might be the one to go on. I believe it's going to be on the Enchanted Princess, and she's a beautiful ship. She's one of the newer princess ships. I think it's the second newest ship other than the Sun. So we've had the Sun Princess is the newest one. The Discovery was before her, and I think the Enchanted just before her. So she's not 10 years old. She's only a few years old yet. And I think if you're wanting to do something a little different, and you have the 14 days during the celebration of the 250th anniversary of America, well, what could be better than this type of cruise with a tour all combined into one? Like I said, I'm not usually into cruise tours, but this is one I'm definitely going to keep my eye on.